What did you make of it all, mate? So over the course of the last week, we spoke last Thursday. The decision had been made. David Fifita was going to the Roosters on a 4-year deal. And then over the course of the weekend, he gets booed by his home fans. And then he scores a try and they have a win, a really gutsy win too. It was given the fact they're having a really tough season. And then come Tuesday, there is a change. What have you made of it, viewing from a distance, Mel?
Jimmy, I can understand it, to be honest with you. I mean, I know Dave, fairly well, and he's a family man. There's no, I mean, I've seen all the articles about the incident, obviously that's happened over the last few days. But he is definitively a family man, and his mum and his dad obviously lives up there. His girlfriend is still Charlie's still there as well. Plus his grandma, he's very close to his grandma. He's a Queensland boy. So I'm not surprised. I was surprised that he actually made a decision to go south. To be honest with you, that was probably where I was thinking. I was more surprised that he actually made the decision that I'm going to go below the border, New South Wales border, because I just know that he's most happy when he's around family, and he's most happy when he's around his mates. So I feel he's made a decision. He's obviously thought about it in hindsight, and that's what I would do. I would, give it some really good thought, get away from all the advice that everyone was giving him, and make a determination that's going to be best for him and his mental health more than anything else, because he needs family around him. So, I'm not surprised, mate.
Okay. He had the opportunity to consider all of these things before making his decision to go to the Roosters. Are you a fan of the 10-day cooling off period, Mal?
Yeah, I am. Very much so. Because I think, these days, there's a lot of people that hangs around you, gives you plenty of advice. You got obviously people in the club giving you plenty of advice, people outside the network giving plenty of advice, the manager more so than anyone else, I would suggest to you, giving him plenty of advice. So I think particularly a person like Dave needs to get away from all that and just spend a day or two just thinking about himself. And I've had conversations like that with Dave before, and that's what I do. I mean, before you make, obviously, there was a deadline that was imposed around round 10. You had to make a decision. But there's this cooling off period. I'm a fan of the cooling off period, because if you're forced into making a decision, sometimes you need that extra time just to rethink it all and just go through it all again and see if it is the right thing for you to do.
Yeah. Well, I actually am a fan of it as well too, because once you've made that decision, the weight of the decision then sits there. And if we've got a cooling off period, if you want to go and buy a house, right, which is a momentous decision in the life of your family, you actually have a cooling off period associated with that as well too. I am actually in favour of it too. So I just wondered.
Yeah, well, that's good, Jimmy. I would think that most people would be. So most people sometimes are getting thrown into the deep, and they've got to make a decision real quick without having to think about it too deeply. And you make a decision, then what's wrong with changing your mind? There's no law against it, there's no crime against it. And the decision you make is in your best interest. And I think that's really important part of the decision-making process also, is that it's in your best interest. Is this the right thing for me to do?
Yeah. And there's lots of people around that are associated with it. If you want to ask Mal a question, get us on the text line 0457 736 736. The open line, it will take calls too, 1300 01 1170. It is the Throwdown. We're doing it all thanks to Chemist Warehouse. Save on your prescriptions at Chemist Warehouse. Head in store today. Here's my one issue around this, Mal, and that is, if Dave Fifita was prepared to make the call to Nick Politis to say he was coming to the club, then I think he should have been able to make the call to Nick Politis to say he wasn't coming to the club. What's your thought on that?
You're probably right there, Jimmy. No, I'm not probably. You are right there. I feel that, Nick's a very daunting personality in our game, and much vaunted, so he understands Dave's fear about ringing Nick and Trent, obviously, as well. So, it's probably the one downfall, I would think. But knowing Dave, as well. I think he'll get around to it. I'm kind of hoping he gets around to it as well, because I think that's the right thing to do.
Yeah, yeah, and even people like Justin Holbrook, who've been heavily involved in it, and obviously was a part of him going. And we spoke to Justin; he's become a regular now on Mondays on this program, which we're excited about. So, I think even that. So to contrast that, Dane Gagai had an offer from the Roosters and went and toured the facilities, and then worked out that the best thing for he and his family is to stay in Newcastle. He rang directly Coach Trent Robinson and said,
Yep.
"Hey Trent, I'm not coming."
Yeah, I don't think but Jimmy, I don't think that's a good example, to be honest with you. I think that they're both two different scenarios. If Dave would have rang up Trent and Nick and said, "Listen, I'm not coming," that's the same scenario as Dave, but he said he is coming. So it's probably, like you said, I just think that the right thing to do is to give them a call, because it's good manners, put
Yeah,
it that way.
exactly. So no, I think Dave could take a leaf out of Dane's book on that one. Hey, the other story that's been bouncing around, well, there's a lot of stories, but South Sydney and Wayne Bennett. South Sydney came out and said, "Yeah, we think we've got our man," and then Wayne came out and said, "They ain't got me yet." What was your take on that?
Typical Wayne, and it's they've got I don't know why he does it. If it's true, I don't know why South said if it's not true.
Yeah.
So I'm not quite sure what's happening. To be honest with you, but they're both playing games with us, and then Wayne's obviously said, "Well, I'll make my decision if I say yes, and I'll sign the agreement after Magic Round." I think that's what's happening at the moment. So, what's true and what's not true. I don't know why someone's fibbing, if that's what you call it. Why do you have to fib when it doesn't mean anything? So it means a lot to obviously South that Wayne's coming, and why would Wayne be fibbing? Because it doesn't really matter, does it?
Well, Wayne's quite right, and he's just leaving the door ajar, and we know he has a history of this. He's just saying, you know what, they want me, but I haven't signed it. He's been very deliberate about, I haven't signed, we haven't agreed to anything, we haven't shaken hands on anything. Very deliberate in his language, which he always is, but it's just leaving the door ajar. And if I'm Blake Solly and then the South Sydney Rabbitohs, I'm as nervous as all get out, knowing that what Wayne has the capacity to do. And the other part of it is knowing the demand for Wayne Bennett out there in the market.
I agree, Jimmy, but why would South be fibbing that Wayne hasn't agreed to terms? Wayne may have agreed to, well, the way I read it, Wayne's agreed to terms, but he hasn't signed anything. He can, a bit like the Dave Fifita incident, and he mentioned Dave, and part of his commentary is that, it's never done until I've signed that dotted line. So, I was probably in that situation at the moment. So he's probably agreed to terms verbally, but certainly not on a piece of paper.
Yeah, you can just imagine Blake Solly. So Wayne, what about that? We'll give you $1 million a year. We'll give you these incentives. You're going to live here. We'll do this. Yep, that sounds good. Okay, great, Wayne. What, could you just sign this? No, not yet. I'm not. Oh no, I'm concentrating on the Magic Round this weekend. We'll have a chat after that. You sure, Wayne? You sure you don't want to sign it?
Ironically, it's the last game of Magic Round that he's involved in as
of
well.
Course.
So how good's that? It's just the theatre of it all. It's just lasts until it possibly can last, and then obviously they're going to get together on the Monday, I suppose, and hopefully for South that Wayne signs the dotted line.
Yeah. All right. Here's the next part of.
There's also other rumours. Hang on. There's also other rumours. Now, I think the Eels thing's dead and buried, but there's also rumours about Papua New Guinea, being into the NRL as well. And Wayne's chasing that job, and he's the man to start the next new club. So, there's 3 years is the time frame for Wayne. I'm assuming that the PNG side or whoever comes in next won't be in the competition until what's that, 2028.
Yeah, there's talk about 27. Do you think there's? I think there's enough time if you said right, you're in 27.
Yeah, there is enough time. But if you're coaching another club, you're doing two jobs at once. So I'm not quite sure whether that's the right thing to do.
Yeah. Well, remember Wayne had a year off whilst he set up the Dolphins. So
and did a tremendous job with the rest of the group there. And so it's been fantastic. The way the Dolphins have been playing. So yeah, it's a bit of a quandary, but yeah, Wayne's in the middle, and he's got all the strings.
yeah, I think Wayne started the rumor about Wayne going to PNG. I think he actually I think he actually started that rumor. And then the other one, I still can't believe the Dolphins are letting him walk out the door. But anyway, that's just me. Here's the next part of this question, Mal. Is Wayne Bennett worth $1 million a year for the South Sydney Rabbitohs, if that's what we're to believe?
He's probably worth more. I would suspect that Wayne would not only have the $1 million to coach, but there'd be some other incentives built into that for sure. Other material incentives, I would suggest as well. So he's worth more than that. To be honest with you, Jimmy. He's the Grand Master. Craig is fantastic coach. Will go down as in the annals as some of the best coach that ever played the game or ever coached the game. So, but Wayne's the master. He's the grand puppeteer.
So, Maestro, that's Alex, producer Alex, and I were having this exact same conversation before we came on air, and I am with you 100%. Wayne Bennett at $1 million a year is cheap, knowing the impact that he has on your organisation.
Yes, exactly. And but the thing about Wayne is that he's set himself up to listen. I can start clubs up now. You've done the Broncos, and did the Dolphins, hasn't he? So
yep.
I can come along. I can help your club. I can get it to a situation where it's a sustainable, successful club, a bit like what he's doing with the Dolphins at the moment, because the Dolphins can only improve. They can't get any worse. Honestly, they're on the trajectory upwards. Yep. And any new team that comes into the competition, there's another million for Wayne. There's another million for Wayne. So Wayne can keep on going until he's 80. So based on the vision of the game. So why wouldn't he if he's still got all his faculties and his health? Why not keep going?
Yeah. Totally agree with you. I don't think Wayne Bennett coaching till 80 is out of the question. I really don't.
I agree with that. Just as there's players, it's not out of the question. Playing till they're 40.
Yeah.
The way the game's going at the moment.
Yeah.
The way that sports science is and high performance is, and the way they train and play, and and the rule changes that are happening in our game. I think it's quite conceivable that a lot of players can play to their late 30s, definitely.
Reece Walsh is not playing this weekend, the Magic round. So minor knee complaint. They're saying it's only 1 week, and Selwyn Cobbo will go to fullback, and Josiah Karapani will make his NRL debut in the centre. So we wish him all the very best. You're Billy Slater. You're the coach of the Queensland side, right? When you were putting together Queensland Origin sides, and there's those weeks leading in when injury could be a concern. It wasn't a concern if Kalen was playing. It wasn't a concern if AJ Brimson was playing. How nervous is Billy Slater right now, Mal?
I would think he'd be apprehensive. I don't know, really nervous. He's got some pretty good, talent coming through that could actually play fullback for 1 game at least. But I suspect that what the Broncos are saying. I mean, it's really honest for the Broncos to come out and say that today, that Reece Walsh was not playing. I think that's Kevy's done a pretty good job there. So I'm trusting what Kevy says and what the medical staff at the Broncos are saying, and I thoroughly believe that Reece Walsh will be available for Origin 1.
Yeah.
But you got Cobbo, you got Val Holmes, you got Hamaso, Tabiai, Fado.
Yeah.
There's a whole abundance of fullbacks that can come in and do a great job for Queensland.
Yeah, it's like New South Wales halfbacks. There's any number that could come in and do a great job, Mal.
And fullbacks.
And fullbacks. Exactly.
And hookers and front rowers and back rowers and and centres.
Yeah.
You got that much talent there. It's not funny.
Oh, here we go. Can you give us an example during the course of your Queensland State of Origin coaching career where you had a guy where you went, we felt like it might have been the cupboard was bare, right? But someone came in and did a job for you, and you remember it to this day because they maybe exceeded all of your expectations?
There's quite a number of them.
Yeah.
Clinton Schifkowski, Adam Mogg.
Yes, Adam
Josh
Mogg.
Hannay. All players that When we started our run in 2006, all those players were playing in that 2006 third game in Melbourne. It was 1-1 the series. We were down 14-6, and we had to score those points, with 10 minutes to go.
Yeah.
So faith in those players, is paramount. And they come in, they did a great job. There's a whole heap of them that come in and did. They play 1 or 2 games, and we're unbelievably great for Queensland.
Is it true that you had the meeting with Lockyer? Was it Lockyer, Sivanasiva, and Price?
I can't remember it in the terms that they talked about, but we had a bit of a chat about it. Yes.
Right. And the way they talk about it was, and you talked about ringing Nick Politis was intimidating, but Big Mal sat him down and said, "Boys, this is it. It's going to be you, not me."
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Well, it was off the back of three years when we lost to New South Wales. We lost that first game at Accor Stadium by 1 point, by a field goal, Brett Finch field goal, right in the dying seconds. And, so it was more around, the way we wanted to play as opposed to their jobs in jeopardy. It was more about listen, we want to play this style of footy.
Right.
This is the style of footy that wins Origin, as opposed to, some of the club stuff that they were playing. So we wanted to change. We wanted to change their attitude towards how we wanted to play as a group, as opposed to a style like the Broncos played at that particular time. We needed to play a different way.
Right.
And it's probably been said, in recent times around the way Penrith plays. You need to change. You need to change the way you play. You can't play the way Penrith plays because you can prepare against that. So we same similar situation back in 2006 when, the teams, the New South Wales team was preparing against the way the Broncos wanted to play as an example. So we just had to change it up. And we ended up winning the second game 30-0, Jimmy.
Yeah.
So because a bit like what happened in Game 3 last year, didn't it? No, I copped a shellacking because, the Queenslanders weren't on their medal, totally 100%, but New South Wales changed the way they wanted to play and won that game fairly convincingly. And that's what happened in 2006 as well.
Yeah, right. I'm looking at the back five from that game in 2006, and most people will go, "Oh yeah, okay." So I'm Ken Schifofsky, Reece Wesser, Brent Tate, Josh Hannay, and Adam Mogg. Like, where's Inglis? Where's Slater? Where's Hodges?
They're all hurt.
Yeah.
All injured. Yeah. Through the series, and that was Game 3. That was the decider in Melbourne. And like I said, that was that game. You asked Darren. He believes that was one of the most satisfying and life-changing games he's ever played in. Because it was just because that started. That was the catalyst for those all those years we were winning.
Yeah. Well, Brent Tate tells an amazing story about being in the in-goal area down by 8, and Darren Lockyer saying, "You blokes just do your job. I'll win us the game."
Yeah.
Like,
exactly.
wow.
And that's just stick to it. No panic. We just be composed and just believe in the plan. Just believe in the process. Believe in what we've been training for and believing in. So, which they did. It was, and the ironic thing, not the ironic thing, but the best thing about that whole performance is that Darren did. He was the difference, and he scored under the posts. And when we put a lot of pressure on New South Wales, they come up with the error, but the man that was there, to win us the game was Darren. But then Clinton still had to kick that goal.
Yeah, it's I was right in front, wasn't it?
Yeah, could you kick one in front? What was that? Under that pressure? Well, that'd be interesting to get you out. Hey? It's back row. Seriously, a force. So listen, hang on a sec. You better kick that goal. That's easy.
It's a very good point. All right, we've got to get ourselves to a break. 1300 01 1170. The text line 0457 736 736. Challenged every Thursday with the great Mal Meninga on the throwdown. It's all thanks to Chemist Warehouse.